Hi, today I'd like to talk about Beaufort, South Carolina. Now, it's been voted one of the top small towns to live in multiple polls and similar accolades, cutest town, that sort of thing. I want to go over 19 points and be candid with you to see if it's something that may or may not work for you. So let's go ahead and get started, but before I do that, I just want to let you know my name is Carl Kratz. I'm a Century 21. I'm a local broker, and I've been in real estate for 13 years, and I've been living here since 1996. So number one on my list, and by the way, this is in no particular order, is the Sound of Freedom. The Marine Corps Air Station, Paris Island, and Laurel Bay are all located here. And when I'm talking about the Sound of Freedom, I'm referring to the jet noise that we get, because when the aviators are flying and running their sorties, they can go on past 9 o'clock in the evening. So depending on where you're located, that could be an issue for you. So I just wanted to make sure that you know about it, because depending on where you are, places like Habersham and Pigeon Point, you hear those planes, they're loud. You can't get around that. Next thing, number two, airport access. So if you're a frequent traveler and you fly out on a regular basis, the closest airport is Savannah Hilton Head International Airport, and you're talking about an hour away. Or you can fly out of Charleston, which is about an hour and 20 roughly to get there. So there isn't a local international airport that's right in Beaufort. So you'd have to do a little bit of travel. Next thing, beach access. Now the closest beach to Beaufort would be in Port Royal, and that's the Sands. Now here's the thing about the Sands though. It is on the Beaufort River. So I don't know about you, but I really don't consider that the beach unless I'm on the ocean, in this case the Atlantic Ocean. The closest place to go and get to what I consider a real beach is Hunting Island State Park. So you have to pay to get in there, like a day pass is I think $8. They have camping there and all, a lot of nature things to do. There's a lighthouse, and it's a beautiful place, but it is a little bit of a trek. So from downtown Beaufort, you're talking about 20-30 minutes. So it is a little bit more of a drive, and if that's a concern, just wanted to make sure you knew about it. Number four on the list. Most of Beaufort was developed prior to the 90s, which means there aren't as many planned unit developments where there's a pool and that sort of thing. But here's the good news. One, you're more likely to find larger lots, and you're more likely to have lower HOAs or no HOAs. There's an advantage to that. And I will say, in the general area, other than the historic area, there are a lot of older ranch homes, one story. So, that's what was built. Now let's talk about the historic area. I think it's super cool. Here's the thing. If you're going to do any work on a property like that, you have to follow the rules. So for example, if you wanted to add, you wanted to change out some wood, and let's say you wanted to put PVC, you can't do that. You would have to stick with the same material that it was built, or you go before the board, and that's going to be something that I don't believe you'd be able to win. They're trying to keep the historic integrity, and I get it. The next thing is, you could be right next to, let's say, a business. Let's say it could be a restaurant, a shop, or some other sort of business. So if you're looking for that neighborhood feel, that it's a little different, and I want you to think about that. Plus, you might not have the same things in a house that you're used to having where you are now. Primary suite with the large bathroom and the humongous closet, you may not get, or it may be hard to do. It's something to keep in mind. Next thing, dining options. I think the food here is good. There aren't a ton of restaurants in the area, but what they do, I think, you get a lot of local seafood, for example, here, that I think is very tasty. But I have heard people say that it's good but not great. And if you're a real foodie, you may want to consider Charleston as an option. But I guess here's the thing too. it's only about an hour and a quarter to get to downtown Charleston, and your money goes farther here. Another thing to think about. And along with restaurants, nightlife. As you might imagine, they roll the streets up here a little bit on the early side. I mean, it's a small town. So I guess just keep that in mind. You're going to have music and things like that. And in fact, events. Beaufort Waterfest is something that I hate to miss. And this weekend they have Taste of Beaufort. So, I mean, there are things to do here, but it's not like a larger metropolitan area. And if that's something you're looking for, then it might not be an ideal fit for you. As far as retail options, there aren't as many. If you're looking for a Costco, a Sam's, that sort of thing, you're not going to get it here. You're going to either have to drive to Bluffton or maybe Savannah or Charleston. Most of the shops here are small local owned merchants. You know, I like supporting local establishments here, but I'm just saying, depending on what you're looking for, it may or may not be a challenge. For example, my wife's vegan. You know, let's say some of the healthier options might be a little bit harder to find. You know, but one of the options would be farmers market in Port Royal rather as an option, so you can get your fresh produce that way. I will tell you, beware though. You know, they have things like crepes, so it's not all about healthy food when you go to farmers market. Speaking of food, and I'm not saying that we're food in this particular case, but let's talk about alligators. We do have alligators. And if somebody tells you there's not one in that lagoon, which, you know, it's a pond, that's not true. Just because there isn't one, there's a good chance there will be one. There typically isn't more than one, but it's just something that if you live here, you know to pay attention. And what I will say is they're afraid of you as much as you're afraid of them till they're not. So I'd say just be vigilant. You know, one of the hardest things for me to get used to moving here were bugs, and bugs year round. You know, I laugh when I think about it, though. I can remember being out on the back porch, and at the time we didn't have any screen, and you know, I see mosquito in December. But here's the thing, I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, so I will take that trade-off anytime. Now, along with bugs, I'd like to talk about termites. Since it is so warm here, I don't believe it's if you're going to get termites, it's when you're going to get them if you don't do the right thing. So I think it's important to have a termite bond. At a minimum, you're treating your property. And if you have questions like you don't know what a termite bond is, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to explain it. It's basically insurance. Next thing I want to talk about are taxes. So if you buy a house here and it's your primary home, you're going to pay roughly 0.5% of the purchase price. So on a $500,000 house, that's $2,500 a year. Now, if it's a second home, rental home, anything other than your primary, you're going to pay a little bit more than 1.5% of the purchase price. So that's going to be in excess of $7,500 per year. So that's something I want you to know, you know, because it does matter how much it costs to own something. Also, along with taxes, auto taxes, you do pay them here on a yearly basis, and you know, it's calculated at 6% of the retail value. And I don't know if this helps you, but I drive a 2017 Ram 1500 4x4 truck, and I want to say I paid $350. Weather. Yes, it's hot here. It is humid as well. You know, it's funny, you know, I still don't completely get used to waking up to 80-degree mornings and the humidity. I will tell you that I like it. I have no problem walking out and sweating. I guess what I'd like to say is I'd much rather sweat than shovel, and I love it here. And to me, I feel like I'm home when I feel the humidity. Now, hurricanes. I know it's a scary thing, but the good news is you have plenty of time to react and get out of Dodge. You know, that's why you have insurance. And here's the other thing. It's not a guarantee, but the Gulf Stream is farther off the coast. So if you look at the history of storms as they're coming up to the U.S., They either hit Florida, veer to the west and go in the Gulf of Mexico, or they try and work their way along the East Coast. Well, what happens is those storms track that warm water to build up energy. And the Gulf Stream's a little bit farther out off the coast here. So what typically happens is we just don't get direct hits, and you'll see the storms hit Charleston or Nags Head or just keep going up the coast. And also a lot of times we'll see storms hit Florida and then they just dissipate over the land, and by the time we get them, they're just a minor inconvenience. Now, what I will say is if you're evacuating, you either leave early or you leave late. Don't leave when everyone else is leaving, because that just means you're stuck in gridlock. Now, I will tell you that my wife wants to leave early and I want to leave late. She's worried about breaking down or some unforeseen problem, and I think that's smart. But here's the thing, more times than not, these storms actually take a turn and you end up not even needing to go anywhere. Now, if you're like us and you have pets and you don't have a place to go, that can be a little bit harder. So I would say in that case, maybe it's important to line something up. We're lucky enough to have family where we can go and it's not an issue. Insurance. I think homeowners insurance is reasonable around here. And I would say, just for a rough number, $1,000 to $2,000 a year. Now, if you're on one of the barrier islands like St. Helena, for example, your wind and hail insurance is going to increase because of that. Also, we are in the low country, so I think flood insurance is something you should look at, whether you're in a floodplain or not. I think, what was it, 25% of the properties that were flooded from Sandy didn't require flood. So anyway, I think it's a good thing to think about, and I'd recommend talking to a local insurance agent, and I'd be happy to recommend somebody if you need that. So let's talk about real estate prices. And what I'm going to talk about is last month, April of 2022, and there were 334 active properties on the market and 221 properties sold. The average price, sorry about that, was $564,747, but the average sale price was $428,818. Now, it's interesting when I'm looking at the original list sales price, that the sales price was 0.7% of the original list price. So what that's telling me is most of the people are pricing properties about where they should be, but there are a few people in there that are really proud. Now, the cumulative average days on market, so that would just mean if they went off for some reason then came back on, is 71 days. So it's not like they're all selling in a day or two, but they are selling quickly. So, something to keep in mind. And the absorption rate is 1.24. So what that means is, there's enough inventory for a little over a month of homes before there aren't any to buy. So the inventory is definitely low. And if you're interested in something and you've made the decision to move, you need to go after a property that's something you really like, and just make sure you have a solid understanding about what the true value is. And you're playing chicken, so are they. So you just need to decide what you can live with. The next thing is number 17. I know I haven't mentioned all the numbers, but I love it here. It is so beautiful, and especially the northern part of the county, because the county is half water and there's more of it up in the Beaufort area as opposed to southern Beaufort County where Bluffton and Hilton Head are located. I mean, the trade-off is you don't have access to as many things like retail. And I'd also say golf is another thing that you wouldn't have as much of. I'm not saying there aren't any good golf courses. There's Daltall, for example. Golf courses out there are gorgeous. Fripp Island, there's some nice courses out there. And I'll tell you, Fripp's a place that it's more about vacationing there than living there for the most part. And I joke that there are more deer there than people. And when I was out there the other day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I saw a couple of deer then. So definitely. 18, zoning. Let's say that you want to buy a house and behind it there's a manufactured home trailer. And you think it's going to go somewhere, it's going to get torn down or something like that. The odds of something like that happening in your lifetime are small. So just keep that in mind, that I wouldn't expect things to change quickly. And if you know that, then you're prepared. Now, one thing I think, especially in this day and age, we're getting a lot of people moving here from other places. And a lot of people are retiring, but not everyone. And if you need to get a job, what I would say is you need to look here first. Now, if you're lucky enough where you have a portable job or you are retired, great. But the thing is, a lot of people want to move here, so the companies just don't have to pay as much. And that's the bottom line. So just make sure that you really understand. I know the cost of living is cheaper here, but just make sure the numbers work for you. So I really appreciate you watching this video. I really appreciate a thumbs up if you got something out of it. Subscribe if you want to. Please reach out to me if you think if I haven't covered something. Let me know down below in the chat section if there's something you'd like me to talk about, or if you'd like to talk about your specific situation. I'm more than happy to do that. Everyone's different. And I will tell you that my family took 10 years to move here. So I completely get that you're on your time schedule. Now, I'm hoping you do it sooner, and most people I talk to hope they're doing it sooner too. But I'll be ready when you're ready. And thanks for watching. You might want to check out, if you haven't seen them and you're considering some of the other areas like Bluffton or Hilton Head, please check out those videos. I'm just trying to provide information so you can make informed decisions. Anyway, Carl Kratz, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.